Welcome from America with Eamon. Good evening, everyone. I'm happy that Mr. Mark Evanu is me for the second time. Hi, Mark. How are you doing?
Hey, I've been doing great. Thanks for having me back.
Welcome back from Europe. I know you have a trip and there's a time gap and a lot of things you do, but thank you for giving time to me. Thank you so much for this.
Oh, my pleasure. It's nice to be over there. Great weather, but it's always good to be back home in Texas.
Wonderful. Welcome home.
Appreciate it.
So a lot of stuff happen when you travel, but I know you are updated. And I know you catching all the news in your trip. You never miss anything. So let's start with what's happened during Mr. Trump rally in California. Tell us, I will not tell the story. I want to hear the story from you. And also, I know how you feel about it.
Well, unfortunately, with a lot of these stories, the media tries to bury it. They don't want to report about it. They don't want to talk about it. And so we're always wondering what exactly happened, what are the specific details. But as far as I know, it seems like somebody tried to get into the rally. They had some guns on them. They were stopped, and so they didn't get a chance to even get within line sight of President Trump. Fortunately, turns out, I guess the Secret Service and the security team has learned since the last couple of assassination attempts. So
Mhm.
that's a good thing, but it's really alarming that, one assassination attempt wasn't enough. Now there's three, and I think that's pretty historic. I don't know of any United States president who's had three assassination attempts. So the deep state is extremely desperate, beyond desperate, and I think it's fueled by the Democrats because they're constantly saying this is a threat. President Trump is a threat to our democracy. If he wins, people are going to be put in chains. He's going to kill all the trans and LGBT people. He's
Mhm.
going to do all kinds of horrendous authoritarian things. And so the lunatics on the left, which there are many of them, they kind of have it in their mind that they have to give their life, even if they end up getting killed for it, in order to stop President Trump. And mental illness has been a thing for the left for a long time now, but I think now we're seeing the mental illness manifesting itself.
Yep. It's a lot of lie actually about Mr. Donald Trump. Like you remember when we talked before we go live, we're talking about what's happening, and especially I'm running this show for the Arab community who live in the United States. So a lot of lies about the Trump administration if he get elected, the elections against the Arab and against the war in Gaza between Israel and Gaza. And I mentioned this in our call, and I told you a lot of people they say we will not vote for Trump. He's supporting Israel, and he will support Israel to kill all the Arab people over there. And I mentioned something in the last week in my life about the war. It's a start in Biden administration actually. During the 4 years, nothing happened. So, but I want to hear from you how you see this and how you see this lies about voting for Trump and Vance and from your experience as you are a politician and um, you are a Republican too. And now when we talk about the Republican, we don't talk about the President Trump himself. We talk about the whole party direction. So people think Trump will able to stop the war in Gaza, or no? Is he supporting a part on a part, like he's supporting someone against someone? So I want to hear from you. How
Yes,
you see this lies?
that's a great question. And I know President Trump has been very vocal about his support for Israel. But if you look at it as, the fruit of his work. So we look at actions speak louder than words, right? I'm
Mhm.
sure your audience could understand that. When he was in power, we had the Abraham Accord, we had peace. So ultimately, President Trump is a man of peace. Despite, of course, he has to support Israel, and he always has, and probably always will. But I think ultimately his goal is peace, and we've seen him also when he was talking with Benjamin Netanyahu. He
Mhm.
said he felt sympathy for the children in Palestine and for all the needless deaths over there. And so I think even if he says he supports Israel, which he does, he will ultimately want peace. I don't think he wants to see any death, any eradication of any group of people. And so, same thing with the Ukraine war. He wants peace. People accuse him of being pro-Russia. I think he wants to work with Russia. I don't think he's anti-Ukraine either. I think he simply wants peace. Similarly, I think he'll treat the Israel-Palestine conflict the same. Even though he supports Israel, he'll probably tell Israel, "Hey, you can't keep going on a conquest. You can't go and conquer other territories. You need to be defensive, and I'm not going to support you if you continue to go on the attack." Now, that's me saying that. I know President Trump hasn't said that, but based on his actions and what he has done in the past, it leads me to believe that he's not going to support ongoing hot war. He ultimately wants peace. And during his tenure, he has the experience to back that up. He's had peace. And so, I tell your audience, there's a lot of fake news out there, there's a lot of exaggerations, but ultimately, if you want peace, President Trump is the one to do it.
As you mentioned about the Russia-Ukrainian war, and I was about to ask you about this, because thank you for mention this too, because one of the biggest economical crisis we have here since we start sending money outside of the United States. So what Biden administration did, they take our tax money, our federal money, and they send it outside. Some for Ukraine, some for Israel, and now everything has become more expensive for us. People struggling to get the grocery shopping, people struggling for paying the insurance, for the paying mortgage, and I remember one of the good interviews I was watching last week for Mr. Trump when he talked about the energy, and he have a tremendous plan to down the energy prices.
Mhm.
So I want to share if you want to share with me too what your thoughts about some of the his directions for the fixing the economy, because I remember the last interview when we talk, I don't think the Democrats they have a clear plan to fixing the economy. Otherwise, they can fix it already because they're already there. They still leading the country.
Right. And energy is a big part of the economy. As I'm sure you know, if energy costs are high, that's going to affect everything, transportation of goods, transportation of people, whether you're heating or cooling your homes. So it has a huge effect. And I was just in Europe meeting with members of European Parliament, especially the ones who are newly elected, trying to build a bridge between them and Republicans. And they told me a big issue for them was energy,
Mhm,
because unlike us, they are very dependent on Russia for oil and energy in general. And once they start sanctioning Russia, they're essentially hurting themselves because now they have to get energy from somewhere else, which
mhm.
will be much more expensive. And so they have this big issue. And so that highlights how important it is to be energy independent. And they told me, well, America is independent, and so you don't have to worry about that. And I said, well, under Joe Biden administration, he cut the Keystone Pipeline.
Mhm,
He has not renewed leases for drilling oil. And
mhm,
so actually he's done great harm to us. He's
mhm.
had to dip into our reserves of energy. We have some oil reserves that he's dipped into. But it's true, if President Trump is in power, we can and will be energy independent, and we'll be selling energy instead of cutting down our own production to buy from somewhere else. And so that's a huge difference. And that's obviously going to increase the standard of living for all Americans, whether you voted for Trump or not.
And we have the biggest reserve of oil all over the world. The United States have the biggest reserve of the oil all over the world.
That's
And I
correct.
remember when he said, Mr. Trump, in his interview, he said, drill, drill, drill. I will drill to get the oil. I will not be importing oil from anywhere. I will export it to all people. So I
Yep.
think this is a good point. Even if you're still importing oil, but you're drilling, this will affect you in the negotiation between the countries like Russia and Venezuela or Saudi Arabia when they try to negotiate with you the prices. So okay, if you don't want to supply me, I'm okay. I will get from my homeland. I don't need you anymore. So this will affect the whole entire world economy. It's not only us
Right.
because the international prices will go down. So again, when I talk to people who are watching us all over the world, I know some people watching me from Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and they have family living there. Please share this conversation, this interview with them, because the important to everyone who's going to November election to understand who will fight for your rights, who will fight for your economy, and not only our US economy, but also the whole entire world economy.
And the to touch on I know a lot of your audience is from the Middle East,
Yeah.
and Arabic, and a lot of the America First, pro-Trump supporters, so the more true conservatives, not the establishment types, the rhinos, the ones who seem to always be in favor of war. The America First patriots, they're not really in favor of war, whether it's Ukraine and Russia, Israel and Palestine, and so President Trump, those are his supporters are going to be putting pressure on him to once he is elected and wins to stop the war, regardless of any rhetoric. What he says in public that he supports Israel against anyone. I think a lot of his supporters really just don't want war in general. We don't want to see our tax dollars going overseas. We have so many problems here already. We were told that $5 billion was too much for our southern border wall, but we've sent over $100 billion to Ukraine. So it makes no sense to us. We're really not in favor of any of those wars. And so hopefully that alleviates some of the concerns.
Yep. And one of the things, as you mentioned, the borders. Um, a few days ago, um, there's some people try to attack a military base in I can't remember, it was in Nevada or where, I can't remember actually. But when they try to attack this military base, they stopped them, and they found one of them. They came through the borders, and he is on ISIS list.
Mhm.
So, guys, you can imagine these people can reach out to your kids in the schools. So please vote for the one who can protect your borders. So now let's move to another topic. We talk on the phone about the vice president debate.
Mhm.
And actually, I think the 2020, there is no vice president debate. I don't think they have in 2020, I can't remember. It just only Biden and Trump. I don't see any debate between the vice presidents,
I,
but
I think they still did. Yes.
they did.
Yes.
I can't remember. I have a fish memory sometimes. So let's talk about the vice president debate between Vance and Walz overall. And from your point as a viewer and from your point as a politician.
Well, to be honest to you and your audience, I wasn't that excited initially for this debate. I
Mhm.
know that JD Vance was a great pick, but I didn't really see much of him in media or really was aware of his debate style. I thought it might be a close debate. I wasn't really sure what to expect, but either way, I wasn't that excited for it, right?
Mhm.
So I watched it and it blew my mind. I was very impressed by JD Vance, and I think many people were. We knew that he'd probably do fairly well, but I think he exceeded expectations all around, even for the left. And I think it was contrasted with Wall's disappointing performance. It made JD Vance look even better.
Yep.
So had Walls been a little better, maybe we wouldn't be so blown away. But JD Vance was just so great at, especially the way he would start his answer with saying, "I'm sure Tim Walz can agree with me when I say X." And
Yes.
so then it was something very common sense that everyone can agree with. So
I like
Walz
this
is
technique.
forced. Yeah, if Walz is
You take
forced,
them
he
in
said,
his side from the beginning.
right.
So
Walz is
he
forced.
agree until the end.
He was forced essentially to say, "Well, yeah, I agree with that," and then he had to come back against him, right? So it
Yeah.
was very interesting to watch, and I think people I heard afterwards saying, "Well, JD Vance should be the next presidential candidate for the Republicans after that."
Yeah, I remember I get a call from one of my friends, his close friend. He worked in IT in California in Silicon Valley, and he called me. Hey, Ayman, did you watch the debate? He know me. I'm following the news. He told me JD Vance should be a president in the future. His style, I love his style. When he talk, and especially when he mentioned I came from the middle class, and he touched everyone who was like the majority of people, because he spoke as one of the American people, not he is like taking the leader seat. He just
Right.
spoke as any one of us. he's coming from middle class. His family struggle to get a food stamp for him and Medicaid and help. So
Yeah, he
this
didn't
is
talk down to people. He talked at the
exactly,
same level as people.
exactly. And this is actually one of the things that Kamala Harris, she tried to mention this a lot of time. I came from a middle class. I'm not come from a coconut tree. So
Yeah, a
yeah,
little
so
less believable from her. And
exactly.
Tim Walz didn't help himself when he said he had so many gaffes where he said he's friends with school shooters.
Mm,
He constantly looked like he was anxious or like a deer in headlights. You know,
mhm.
his eyes were really wide. He looked like he was really confused and
Yeah,
really upset during the whole debate. Uh, so you know the whole just from an optical level, if you can't hear the voices, you turn the sound off and you watch the debate. JD Vance exudes confidence, and Tim Walz constantly his face looks terrified.
yeah. Yeah, especially when he say, I definitely agree with me," and then he take him to his side, and then, but your administration, they destroyed the economy, and so he just like shocked you. Was agree with me? Yeah, I agree with you that you destroyed everything. So this is like overall, I think there's a great opportunity to know more about the both vice presidents, to know who is like in a solid he's considered in a solid base, and who is like still like
Well,
shaky.
yeah, and also people ask, you know, does that really affect how people vote? Well, for your audience, for those who don't know, the main job of the vice president is to replace the president in the event that something were to happen to him. And
Hmm.
so JD Vance is excellent insurance for
Exactly.
President Trump because if President Trump is for so you know something happens to him, whatever it is, now they have to deal with JD Vance, who becomes the president. And a
Hmm.
lot of leftists probably don't want that either. And
Hmm.
so it's great insurance.
Hmm. Yeah, and also this will continue the whole picture. So, the Constitution say is a president can no longer serve, there will be the vice president, and if the vice president can no longer serve, this will be um, the Speaker of the House.
Yep. Speaker of the House.
So also, if we get a strong House and strong Senates, so this will be help the whole country to go to back to the right direction. I will not say go to the right direction because actually we're going the wrong way now, but I would say back to the track or back to the right direction. So I need before we wrap up the conversation, actually, I know how busy you are, so thank you again for giving me this time. But
My
before
pleasure.
we wrap up the conversation, I want to give you the advices for people who said we will not go to vote. It's waste of time. It doesn't affect me. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. So these people just like were sitting down and watching the TV and say, let's see who will win this war, and this will not affect me. And also, I want to talk about the ballot because people think they will get vote only for president and vice president and leave. And people, they make a big mistake about it. I want to hear this from you. I mentioned this before in one of my lives, but I want to also to hear this from you as a politician. Who's affect you most when you go to vote?
Well, look, the voting is obviously very important. What's going to affect you the most is your local and state candidates where you live. Presidential candidates obviously will have a big effect on you in foreign policy, but most important is the local and state level candidates. And that's why it's very important if you're a conservative or you're independent or moderate, but you appreciate the conservative candidates and their values, it's very important to go down that ballot and vote Republican. Because even if you don't know much about them, I can guarantee you the left is being told go in there, vote Democrat down the line. We don't care if you know them, we don't care if you disagree with them. And people are going and doing that. And so the only way to combat that and to have any semblance of conservatism. You may not agree with Republicans on everything, and neither do I. But if we're going to have any semblance of conservatism, family values, traditionalism, vote down the ballot Republican, because usually, even if you don't like the Republican candidate's not very good, the Democrat candidate's going to be much worse. They're going to be pro-LGBT, pro-abortion. They want to destroy the economy. So I encourage everyone, vote Republican. And I understand if you're in a blue area, maybe you feel like your vote doesn't matter as much, but it will matter in the end. as statistics showing that we tried our best. And, I can't stress it enough. You always hear this is the election of a lifetime. You have to go vote. But I think that's exaggerated. I think this election truly is the election of a lifetime. If the Democrats win, all the illegals who've came in here, hundreds of millions, they'll be made into American citizens who can vote and who will always vote Democrat. Republicans will never win a national election ever again in the history of America if Democrats win this election. And so it really is a unique election, and everyone must get out there, even if you're independent, if you want any kind of conservatism and traditionalism, family values.
And I want to catch you before the election. We can meet one more time, especially for the Texan people. So we can tell them more about who can you if you want to vote Republican, so who you can vote for. So we can find time if your time allowed us before November, and we can make another interview for the Texan people who's struggling, who will voting for, so we can talk about who will be in the sheriff, who will be in the jury, who will be in the judge, who will be in the Board of Education from the Republican Party. So, guys, one I remember Mr. Haney in the last live streaming, he asking me, so if I want to vote Republican, who I vote for? I don't know. So we will try to do something for you, and we will tell the Texan people. Definitely we can't cover the whole states. This will be hard to make a 50 interviews for, and we actually I think you and me, Mark, we don't know everyone around the country, so we
Well,
can.
Eamon, I know quite a few. My organization works with a lot of people across the country. If your audience wants to send in some questions beforehand, I'd be happy to commentate on them or try to answer
Great.
them.
Great. So, guys, I encourage you, if you want to need more to know more about who you're voting for and who is going for what from the Republican Party, please leave this in the comment below and write. And Mr. Mark will be available. When he available, he can answer a few questions. But please make sure you type it in English because um, I can read Arabic, but I have some more advanced than you. So I can read Arabic, but even if you can't, I will translate this to English, and he maybe can answer your question. I
Perfect.
will be the entrepreneur in the middle.
Perfect. That sounds great.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mark. I really appreciate your time. I know how's your trip to Europe affect you, and thank us for finding this time to me. And we will try to be in contact so we can find a time for the Texan people who speak Arabic and they're struggling. For everyone, not for the people who speak Arabic only, but because we're running the show this time in English, so everyone who's watching us from Texas he knows more about if you want to vote Republican, who will help you, who will affect you most about your life in Texas, and who can fight for your prices, who can fight for your tax, who can fight for your energy, who can fight for your kids in the schools, who can fight for protect your borders. Um, Stay tuned. There's a lot of our conversation about the election will stop after we say Trump wins. This is the only way we will stop. We will never stop until he get to the White House. Thank you
Yes, sir.
again, Mark. Thank you so much for your time today. Let's thank Mark Evanu, the COO of Republican for Renewal.
National renewal. That's
National
correct.
Republican for you. Every time I say it wrong.
Thank you for having me, Eamon. It's a pleasure. It's great to be here, and a big thank you to your audience for tuning in.
Thank you so much. Thank you so everyone, and thank you for watching me from America. This was Ayman, and God bless you all. Please don't forget to give us thumbs up, share the video with your beloved, send it to the messenger, send it by WhatsApp, share it in your social media channels, and I will be happy to get your comment below. And this time, Mark will help me to answer some questions. Thank you so much. God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America.
Thank you, Eamon.
Thank you.